Welcome to Weiss Software's VisualCAM video series. In this video, you will learn all about the VisualCAM User Interface, including tips for quickly getting started and setting up your main application window according to your own preferences. I will start with the title bar. This displays the title name of the currently loaded database, along with the product name. The three buttons on the right side of the bar are ones with which you are probably already familiar. The Minimize button that reduces the desktop to a button on the Windows taskbar, the Maximize button to make the desktop fill the entire screen, and the Close button to exit the program. The Close button functions the same as the Exit command in the File menu located on the menu bar. Before I get into the specific items displayed in the window, I want to mention the left mouse button and right mouse button behaviors. The default behavior for the left mouse button, when no other command is being executed, is to draw a view window. The first click starts the view window, and then you drag your mouse to the size of the area you wish to zoom into. The second click executes the zoom command for the area you specified. When executing commands from the menus or toolbars, the left mouse button will often be modified for the duration of the command. The exact behavior is determined by the command you selected and will be specified in the Hints Prompts area in the lower left corner of the application window. For most commands, the left mouse button is used to select the object or objects to be affected by the command. There are two default behaviors for the right mouse button depending on where your mouse is pointing when you click it. If the mouse pointer is hovering over a blank area in the workspace, when you right-click, a pop-up menu will appear listing shortcuts to all available commands. If the mouse pointer is hovering over an object in the workspace, that object is selected and a much smaller pop-up menu appears with only the commands that are available for the type of object selected. If more than one object is located near the mouse pointer when you right-click, such as a flash and a polyline directly under your pointer, then you will first be presented with a Choose Selection dialog, prompting you to select the specific item to be edited or queried. If you are zoomed out, you will notice more objects are presented from which to choose. To narrow the list, zoom in on the item you want to select. Once you choose the correct item, the right-click menu will appear offering you several commands from which to choose. All of the commands grouped within the menus and submenus can be executed by left-clicking on them once. For example, File, Open. There are also shortcuts to these commands located on the many toolbars in VisualCAM. Each command is represented by a specific icon. Hover over the button to see its name, and then click once on the button to invoke the command. Many commands can also be executed immediately using keyboard shortcuts, or hotkeys, that can make the overall processing of your data that much more efficient. You will find the hotkeys listed next to each command they execute in the various menus, and a complete list of all available hotkeys is available in the online help. Plus, VisualCAM comes pre-configured with default function key assignments, which except for F1 and F10 behavior, can be modified by going to the Options Configure command and selecting the Function Key Mouse tab at the top of the dialog. When you first start working with VisualCAM, you will see all the toolbars that are available in the application. This may be more than you will actually use. You can add, remove, and edit the layout of toolbars to best suit your needs. To change the default setup, simply go to the View menu and click on the Toolbars command. In the visible Toolbars dialog box, remove the checkmark to hide any toolbar. Once you click on the OK button, only those toolbars with checkmarks next to their names will remain visible. Another option available to you is the ability to move toolbars anywhere in the main application window. Space is available above the main window, in columns to the left and right, and even within the main window itself. Just left-click on the grabber bar and drag it to wherever you want it docked while you are working. Notice that when you move a toolbar over another one in VisualCAM, it will automatically drop the others down a row. Floating a toolbar in the window also allows you to see the name of that toolbar and helps you learn which icons represent the commands you need. You can always move it back to the top or sides again later. Set up your application window however it works best for you. Keep the toolbars you use every day handy, but if you rarely use one or more of the others, you may want to hide them until they are needed. You can also change which icons appear in each toolbar, the order of the buttons, and their appearance. To do this, go to Options, Customize Toolbar. With this dialog box open, you can then make changes and instantly see the results of those changes in the workspace. For example, on the Toolbars tab, you can hide and unhide toolbars just like in the View Toolbars dialog box I showed you earlier, but here both the dialog box and the toolbars remain active and allow you to instantly see the changes. You can even create a new toolbar of your own design. To modify this or any toolbar, click on the Customize Toolbar tab. Buttons are grouped in categories and displayed in the Buttons area. Hover over any icon to see the name of the button, or click on it and look below for the description of the command. To add a button, left-click and drag it from the Buttons area to any visible toolbar in the window. To remove it, reverse the action, left-click and drag it back to the dialog box. Buttons can be moved from one toolbar to another or rearranged within a toolbar. For example, with the dialog box still open, drag the Toggle Overlay Mode button from the Settings to the Parts Buttons toolbar and drop it at the end. If you decide to move it to another position along the bar, left-click and drag it to its new position. Note that these changes can only be made while the Options Customize Toolbar dialog box is open. Once you have your toolbar set the way you want, click on the OK button to close this dialog box. Now let's take a closer look at some of the toolbars so you become familiar with their functions. The Layer bar, for example, displays the active layer in your design, which is the layer where data will be edited, added, or deleted. The graphic next to the layer number indicates there is data on the layer and what layer type it is. You can make a different layer active simply by selecting it from this list. Tagging layer types is necessary for many commands in VisualCAM. When you are working with an intelligent file like IPC2581 or ODB++, the layer types will already be set on import. When working with files like Gerber, you need to manually assign the correct layer type to each layer prior to running an analysis or making changes to your data. One way to set up layer types is to click on the Setup Layers button or go to the Setup menu and choose Layers. Using the list of layer types available, set the top layer to top, inner signal layer to inner, plane layers to negative plane, bottom layer to bottom, etc. Click OK to save your changes and close the dialog. On the right of the layer bar, the active Decode is displayed. The graphic next to the Decode number shows the shape of each aperture. All custom apertures are signified by an irregular shape with a C in the middle. The actual shape is not indicated. You can make a different Decode active by selecting it from this list. If the active layer is an NC layer, the active NC tool is displayed. Again, you can make a different tool active by selecting it from this list. Next, the XY bar shows the X and Y coordinates of your cursor in the workspace. The ABS and REL buttons allow you to change the coordinates to absolute or relative. These buttons are available when you are in one of the Edit or Add functions. For example, you would use the Absolute button when adding a flash at an absolute XY coordinate, and then use the Relative button to add another flash relative to the flash you just placed. Note that you can hover over any toolbar button to see a brief description of the command. For a detailed description of the commands, go back to the Options Customize Toolbar dialog box. On the Customize Toolbar tab, find the button in the categories, and then click on it to invoke the description. Now on to the Navigator. The Navigator's Data tab provides a quick reference list of your database elements, and another way of accessing command functions. Most of the navigator functions, such as changing layer names, types, and functions, are controlled with a right-click shortcut menu. On the Data tab, you will find detailed information about the data in the design. First are the layers. When expanded, you will see all the layers in the design listed. Right-click on a layer to set it as the active layer, change its visibility in the main window, or delete it. Choose the Spreadsheet option to open the Layer Setup dialog box. The Copy To option is an easy way to make a copy of a layer to a new layer. In the Select Layers dialog box is where you choose the layer to which you want the data copied. Next are the apertures in your design. The numbers in parentheses are the number of apertures used versus the number of apertures available in the aperture table. When the apertures list is expanded, you can right-click on a specific decode and set to active, highlight it in the main window, or select Spreadsheet to take you right to this decode in the Setup Apertures table. A list of any custom apertures in the design file is also displayed in the navigator. Again, the number of customs used and number of customs in the library are shown in parentheses. To see a list of NC tool tables, click on the plus box next to the Tool Tables heading in the navigator. The list expands to show all the defined tool tables in this design. Clicking on the plus box next to a tool table heading reveals all the tools the table contains, with their corresponding tool number and size. Each tool's type is also indicated by a unique symbol. Expand the tool list to see even more detailed information. Here you can right-click to add a new tool table, rename a tool table, change a tool table's type, add a tool, make a tool active, change a tool's size and type, its plating status, and its legend. To access all this data and more, right-click on the Tool Tables heading and select the Spreadsheet command from the shortcut menu. When you import a net list, VisualCAM lists the nets in the External Nets area of the navigator. The number of nets is noted next to the heading. To see a list of all external nets, click on the plus box next to the External Nets heading. The External Nets area expands to show all nets by net name. A graphic representation of the external nets is also placed on a special external net layer. Viewed by itself, this layer appears to contain no data. However, this layer contains external netlist information and links the external net points to the appropriate top, inner, bottom layer net test points. To view the points, turn on the associated top, bottom, or inner layers and the external net layer. The net points are displayed in 4 ways for easy reference. Any composite layers will be listed here as well. For more information on composites, see the VisualCAM online help or the Working with Composites video in this series. VisualCAM allows you to create layer sets. Any layer set in your design will be listed here. Use the Setup Layer Sets menu command to create a new layer set. View Edit Layer Set allows you to simultaneously change the visibility state of multiple layers. Use the Blind Buried Layer Set if your design includes blind buried vias. The relationship of NC layers to circuit layers must be defined before generating a netlist for DFM analysis. Any layer sets that you have created will be displayed in the navigator. Click the plus box next to the Layer Set heading to expand and show all layer sets by name if any exist. Layer sets may be added, removed, modified, or have their view toggled using the navigator. Another important section that we will use in the navigator is Assembly Parts. This is where you will see information about all the components in the design. Right-click on Parts to sort in a particular order, View to toggle the viewing of all part information, and Delete All to remove the identification of all parts in your design. Note that unless you have an ARE license with your VisualCAM, you may not want to delete all parts, as it will essentially remove all intelligence. When you expand parts, you will see a complete list of components in your design in whatever sort order has been chosen. A right-click menu is available to rename, highlight, delete, etc. When you tag a passive layer as passive add or passive sub, it is immediately added to the embedded passives area of the navigator. Click on the OK button to save your changes and see the layers added to the navigator. I'm going to choose Cancel so the changes will not be saved. When working with the navigator, it can be docked anywhere within the main window or to either side by clicking on the top of the bar and dragging it to another location. You can close the navigator by clicking on the X in the upper right corner of the window, or go to the View menu and toggle the navigator display off by removing the check mark. Go back and replace the check mark to make it visible again. The navigator can be set to auto-hide by clicking on its pushpin icon. In this mode, it will normally be hidden with just a vertical button on the side. Hovering over the vertical button will cause it to slide out for you to use. To dock it in view again, click on the pushpin icon again. You can expand the size of the navigator to the entire height of the window by clicking the up arrow. To reduce its size again, click the down arrow. The window can also be resized by left-clicking on one of its outer edges and dragging it. The next tab in the navigator is the Analysis tab, where errors are listed after running various commands. For example, when you run a DRC, the results will be listed here. Right-click on an error to print, save a report, and see the properties. The third tab in the navigator is the Commands tab, which provides shortcuts to the main menu commands and macros. The commands are displayed in a tree format with expandable and collapsible lists. You can create your own shortcut list of commands by dragging and dropping any of the commands under System Commands onto the My Commands group. This is another way to get easy access to the commands that you use every day. The fourth tab is the detailed stackup information, as imported from your IPC 2581 file. To see a graphic representation, right-click anywhere on the stackup and choose Create Excel Report from the menu. For more information about the stackup generator and how to format your chart, see VisualCAM's Stackup Report Generator Guide. That's a lot of information on the navigator, but I wanted to show you how powerful and useful a tool it is. Moving on, when you query an item in the database, its information is shown in the Item Properties display. The type of information displayed depends upon the item being queried. If needed, you can right-click on the data to copy the item properties to the clipboard so it can be pasted somewhere else. Like the navigator, you can resize the height and width of the Item Properties window by left-clicking and dragging the edges until the desired size is reached. To expand it to fill the height of the main window, left-click on the up arrow, then reduce its size again by clicking the down arrow. To close the display, click on the X in the upper right corner. The window will automatically appear again when a function requires it, but if you want to unhide it before then, go to View Toolbars to make it visible again. Item properties can also be docked anywhere within or to the sides of the main window. Over here is the Colors bar, where you can change the active layer, the visibility of the layers, and the layer colors. The active layer is the one that will be edited and is indicated with red text. This layer appears on top of the other layers in the main window. To change the active layer, double-click on the new layer or right-click on the new layer and choose Set Active from the menu. Visibility for individual layers is controlled by clicking in the checkbox next to the desired layer number. A checkmark indicates visibility, in which state a layer can be edited. No checkmark indicates the layer is not visible and cannot be edited. To turn all layers on or off, right-click in the Colors bar and select either All On or All Off. Note that when you select All Off, all layers except the active layer are turned off. You can control the color of the flashes and draws for each of your layers. To change one of the colors, click on it to invoke the color selector. Choose another color from those offered, or right-click on a color to open the standard Windows color selector that allows you to define a custom color. To dismiss the basic color selector without choosing a color, press the Escape key on your keyboard. For future reference, pressing the Escape key is how you tell VisualCAM to stop running a command anytime during the process. If you have a specific set of layer colors you would like to use for all of your designs, we have a macro called Set Layer Colors that allows you to choose your colors and add this macro to the OnStartup macro so that all job layer colors will be set the same every time. See the video in this series for detailed information on how to set this up. If multiple layers are selected when you make a change to visibility or color, all selected layers will be changed. Layer names are also presented for your reference in the Colors bar, and layer types are represented by the icon next to the layer number. If a layer contains item level polarity, the draw and flash colors contain a diamond shape. If you wish to change a layer name or type, use the Setup Layers button to quickly get to the Layer Setup dialog box, or go to the Setup menu and choose the Layers command. And as I mentioned before, you can get to the same dialog from the navigator by right-clicking on a layer and choosing the Spreadsheet command. Once inside the dialog box, click on the layer type and choose a new one from the drop-down list. To rename a layer, simply click on the existing name and type the new one. Like the Navigator and Item Properties windows, you can resize the height and width of the Colors bar by left-clicking and dragging the edges until the desired size is reached. To expand it to fill the height of the main window, left-click on the up arrow, then reduce its size by clicking the down arrow. You can close the window by clicking on the X in the upper right corner, and go to View Toolbars to make it visible again. The Colors bar can also be docked anywhere within or to the sides of the main window. Another important feature with which you should become familiar is the selection filter. This is used by all commands and defines how you want to select items and what types of items you wish to choose. For example, depending on the command, you may choose single item, window, group, or complete layer selections, as well as restricting your selections to particular layers and/or decodes, etc. When you are not in a command that uses the selection filter, the text in the selection filter is gray and you cannot select any options. Again, just like with the Navigator, Item Properties display, and Color bar windows, the selection filter can be moved, resized, its height expanded to fill the available space, and closed at any time. It will automatically appear again when a function requires it, or you can use the View Toolbars command to unhide it. In the Select Filter window, you can choose from many options to control the data you want to process. Mode options include Item, Window, Window Crossing, Net, and User Data. These define how items will be selected, and the available modes depend upon the command function you have chosen. The types, Flash, Draw, Arc, Polygon, Text, etc., are the kinds of items that will be included in the current command process. Any type of item not checked will be excluded from the selection. The Layers options allow you to select which layers to be considered when choosing items. The layers must be displayed to appear in the list. So for example, in the Colors bar, if I turn off the visibility of a layer, that layer no longer appears in the Select Filter list. The Decodes option allows you to specify items that are created using only a particular decode. The default is set to All. To see a list of decodes from which to choose, right-click on the header to open the Select Apertures dialog box. Finally, the Polarity option allows you to specify only items with a particular polarity, dark or clear. Again, make sure to pay attention to the Select filter. Select your command first, and then go to the Select filter to ensure your selections are correct for the command you want to execute. At the very bottom of the main application window is the status bar, and this provides specific command instructions and feedback. This is another important area to watch, as this is where prompts appear during certain commands. Other useful information is displayed on the right side of the status bar in the following order. Mod is the database modified indicator and appears if you have made any modifications to the currently loaded database. Next, the directory path of the currently loaded database is displayed. Third is the redraw status. Automatic redraws of the workspace can be turned off using the Options Configure Display command. When you select the Minimize Redraws option, you control when the workspace is refreshed by pressing the R hotkey. The Undo command allows you to reverse edits that you have just made. As useful as this is, the undo memory buffer can consume memory and affect system performance. You can disable the undo function by going to the Options menu and choosing the Configure command again. On the General tab, remove the checkmark from the Enable Undo Redo box. DRC status is where the number of existing analysis errors is shown. SEL is the number of items shown in the current select group. The current units of measure are displayed. To change the units, use the menus and go to Options, Configure, Units and Precision, or click on the ME button on the XY toolbar to go directly to the tab in the Configuration dialog box. The process indicator light tells you if the system is currently processing data. If the light is flashing red, the software is currently processing data. When the light is solid green, the system is ready as there is no process running. Now onto the workspace area, where all of your editing takes place. The workspace is where the graphical representation of your database appears. The commands in the View menu and their associated toolbar buttons control your view of the workspace and allow you to edit the data. Learning some commonly used keyboard shortcuts is always beneficial. With the pointer located in the workspace, press the plus key on your keyboard to zoom in on your design, the minus key to zoom out, and the Control R keys to fit the design to the size of the workspace. To change the background color of the workspace, go to Options, Configure Display to open the Configuration dialog box to select the desired color. A grid can be displayed in the workspace by clicking on the Toggle Grid Display button or by using the View Grid command. The grid size can then be changed by going back to Options, Configure Display. At the bottom of the workspace are the View tabs. The default tabs are Log and Main. Log shows a record of all of your actions since you opened or created a database and is cleared when you select the File New or File Open command. To save the log as a file, right-click in the log screen and select Save Log from the shortcut menu, or select the File Save Log command. The Main tab is your main working area and where you see the graphical display of your database. You can add additional tabs, maintaining one view of your database in each, so that you are not required to frequently zoom and pan your view. To add tabs, use the View tabs Add command. Change the name or leave it set to the system default. You can perform edits, such as copy data from one view to another. To delete tabs which you have added, use the View tabs Delete command. And last but not least, the cursor, or crosshair, is used to select objects, commands, buttons, etc. in the workspace. You can control the size and whether or not to show the coordinates along with the crosshair in the Options Configure Display dialog box. Note that all changes made to the toolbars and dialog box placements are automatically saved in the registry when you close VisualCAM, so when you open it again, the screen will appear exactly as you left it. This completes the Getting Started with the VisualCAM User Interface video in Weiss Software's VisualCAM video series.